One person can't change the world, but one person carrying a message can change the world.
Hello there. It's been a long, long time.
At 92 years old, Willie Nelson has lived through more heartbreak than most could ever bear. He's lost friends, fortunes, and pieces of himself along the way. Now, as he faces what might be the final stretch of his life, he's opening up with shocking honesty, words that cut deeper than any lyric he's ever sung. When asked about death, Willie doesn't blink, doesn't joke, doesn't dodge. He just says it straight. "What are you looking at me for? I ain't got nothing to say." That's Willie, raw, real, and unafraid. But what made this outlaw so at peace with his own mortality? The truth runs back through decades of pain, loss, and lessons that would have broken most men. This isn't the polished Hollywood version of Willie Nelson's life. This is the unfiltered truth of a man stripped down by time, learning that real strength sometimes means knowing when to let go. His story begins long before the fame, long before the outlaw anthems, in the dusty fields of Depression-era Texas. Born in Abbott, Texas on April 29, 1933, Willie Hugh Nelson came into a world already stacked against him. From the start, life taught him that nothing lasts forever. His parents, Merle and Ira, had big dreams, too big for their tiny town. And when those dreams called them away, they left 6-year-old Willie and his sister Bobby behind. He watched his mother walk away, promising to return when things got better. But those better days never came. His father remarried and moved on, leaving young Willie wondering why he wasn't worth staying for. That kind of wound doesn't fade. It burns quietly, shaping every song, every heartbreak, every long night spent chasing peace that never seems to come. His grandparents, William and Nancy Smothers, became his safe haven. They were the ones who gave him his first guitar at just 6 years old. They taught him hymns, country rhythms, and the kind of soulful honesty that would one day make his music timeless. But no matter how much love they gave, Willie still carried that ache, the silent question, why wasn't I enough to make them stay? Through it all, he learned to channel pain into art. He smoked, he drank, he lived hard, but every vice carried a memory, every melody a scar. That's the kind of truth that shaped Willie Nelson. Not the fame, not the fortune, but the fire that comes from surviving when the world forgets you exist. Under that blazing Texas sun, a young Willie Nelson learned what real pain felt like. His tiny hands bled raw from picking cotton beside grown men and migrant workers. The heat was brutal, the work endless, but Willie didn't quit. "Don't feel bad," he'd later say. "You'll just go crazy." Even then, he was already learning how to endure when life gave him no mercy. That field became his first classroom in pain and purpose. It taught him that giving up might be easy, but surviving, that's where the power is. At just 7 years old, he wrote his first song. It was simple, rough, but it spoke louder than anything he could say. And when he joined his first band at 10, the Bohemian Polka, something inside him shifted. On stage, the crowd didn't judge him. They wanted him there. But deep down, the scars never really faded. Willie still carried the sting of being left behind. He learned early that people walk away, that promises break, and trusting too much could destroy you. That lesson hardened him, and later, it would protect him in the cutthroat world of country music. He once said, "There's 3 rules in my family." But really, there was just one that mattered: never depend on anyone but yourself. That kind of loneliness can turn a man cold, but for Willie, it turned him wise. He started to see that clinging to anything, money, fame, even love, could trap you. The boy who picked cotton in 100-degree heat was already learning one of life's cruelest truths. Real freedom comes when you've got nothing left to lose. By the early 1960s, Willie thought he'd finally found peace. He'd married Martha Matthews, and their home was full of laughter from their 3 kids, Lana, Susie, and Billy. Nashville was calling, and Willie was chasing his dream, writing songs for stars like Patsy Cline. But dreams don't pay rent, and the bills kept stacking higher than the hope. He took odd jobs, selling encyclopedias, pumping gas, whatever it took to keep the lights on. The man who'd one day be a legend was barely scraping by, sleeping on couches and counting change for groceries.
We're all pretty much the same. And what makes me and you laugh or cry, chances are it'll make everyone else laugh or cry. Several people that I'd like to see take a hit.
Martha had married a dreamer, but she got stuck living in a nightmare. The money fight started small but soon turned volcanic. Every missed audition, every bounced check turned into another shouting match. Willie would come home broken, and Martha's frustration would cut him even deeper. He drowned his pain in whiskey, trying to silence the echo of failure. The man who could write heartbreak into songs couldn't find a way to fix his own home. And then came the night that nearly ended everything. One freezing Nashville evening, after another brutal argument and a pile of rejection letters, Willie walked out, drunk, defeated, done. The streets were silent, the air like ice. He laid down right there in the middle of the road, staring up at the black sky. He didn't want to sing. He didn't want to dream. He just wanted the pain to stop. He closed his eyes and waited for the headlights. Cars swerved and horns blared, but no one stopped. Willie lay there in the middle of that cold Nashville street, the world spinning around him. Drivers cursed, tires screeched, but death never came. And in that eerie stillness, something inside him shifted. For the first time, he realized that giving up wasn't bravery, it was surrender. Sometimes, the most desperate act is also the most cowardly. When Willie finally dragged himself home, he wasn't met with sympathy. Martha was waiting, but not with open arms, with accusations and ultimatums. Every word she threw at him was like another cut, another reminder that his marriage had already died long before that night. He'd loved her deeply once, but now he learned a darker truth. Love can wound deeper than hate. The man who'd one day sing about heartbreak for millions was already living it for real. No song, no melody, no lyric could touch that kind of pain. And as he moved on from that wreckage, he carried scars that fame and fortune would never erase. Years later, another heartbreak would bring Willie to his knees, the kind no parent ever recovers from. December 25th, 1991, Christmas Day. It should have been a time for laughter, gifts, and family. The Nelson house was full of grandkids and holiday spirit, but somewhere in that same morning, tragedy was waiting to strike. Billy Nelson, Willie's eldest son, had been battling something far darker than anyone could see. Being Willie Nelson's son in Texas wasn't a blessing. It was a shadow. Everyone expected Billy to shine just like his father, to have the charm, the music, the magic. But inside, Billy was drowning. Depression had its grip on him, and it wasn't letting go. He had his father's gentle heart, but not his outlet. The music that saved Willie couldn't save him. The pills didn't work. The therapy felt hollow, and the weight of being Willie's boy became unbearable. His Aunt Bobby later said they'd been planning to record a gospel album together that Christmas, father and son side by side, finally finding peace through faith and song. The studio was booked, the songs chosen. It could have been their healing moment. But Billy had already made his choice. While the world opened gifts, Billy closed his story. At just 33 years old, the same age as Christ when he died, he took his own life. That number haunted Willie forever. The call came that afternoon. Willie was getting ready for a Christmas gathering when the phone rang. The voice on the other end told him what no father should ever have to hear. His boy was gone, not from accident, not from sickness, but from a decision that crushed his soul. Willie dropped everything. The man who'd sung through every kind of heartbreak had finally met the one pain he couldn't put into a song. The funeral felt like a movie running in slow motion, whispers, stares, and the kind of silence that makes your chest hurt. People talked softly about Billy's struggles, about warning signs they'd missed, about the heavy shadow of being Willie Nelson's son. But Willie sat there frozen, staring into nothing, replaying every moment he could have said something, anything, that might have changed the ending. Bobby Nelson, his sister and lifelong musical partner, watched her brother collapse in a way she'd never seen before. They'd weathered decades of highs and lows together, heartbreak, fame, loss, but this shattered him. It wasn't the kind of pain you could turn into a melody or heal with applause. This was forever pain, the kind that rewires your soul. Willie and Bobby never really talked about Billy's death. There were no long late-night conversations about grief or moving on. They just stayed close in silence. Bobby once said, "It's Willie's way. He feels everything but says little." That quiet understanding became their language. They didn't need to talk about it. They just knew. Willie learned something dark and irreversible through that loss. That some pain doesn't make you stronger. It just changes who you are. Some wounds never close. They just become part of your reflection.
You are always on my mind.
I feel like, I'm another singer, another guitar player. I know there's a lot better guitar players and a lot better singers.
That I would not have found you.
And maybe, he realized, loving someone also means understanding why they'd choose to leave this world. But just as he was trying to crawl out from that heartbreak, another disaster hit, one that would strip him of nearly everything he owned. While Willie mourned his son, the IRS was building its own storm. For years, his financial team had mishandled his money, cutting corners, missing payments, and setting him up for a fall that would make headlines across America. Then came 1990. Federal agents rolled up to his ranch with papers in hand. Seizure notices for $32 million in unpaid taxes, one of the biggest personal tax debts in U.S. history. Willie couldn't believe it. The same man who'd given his life to music, who'd poured his soul into America's soundtrack, was now being treated like a criminal. They took everything, his gold records, the symbols of decades of hits. His piano, the one that carried his heart into every song. Even his beloved ranch in Texas, the one place he'd found peace after Nashville's chaos. Gone, all of it. Friends begged him to file bankruptcy, to walk away clean. But Willie wouldn't. "I ain't leaving anyone unpaid," he said. "That's not how I was raised." So instead of hiding behind lawyers, he faced the fire head-on. He released a record called the IRS Tapes, Who'll Buy My Memories, an album made to pay off the government. Every sale went straight to the IRS. He auctioned off his personal belongings, watching strangers bid on pieces of his life like souvenirs. Through all that loss, his son, his fortune, his pride, Willie still stood tall, stubborn, and unbroken. Because that's the outlaw spirit. When life takes everything, you give it one last song. Willie hit the road like a man possessed. He played anywhere that would have him. Tiny honky-tonks, dusty county fairs, smoky bars, any place that'd pay a dime. Every night he'd walk out with a smile, but deep down he knew every song was another payment toward that crushing $32 million debt. The irony was brutal. The outlaw who sang about freedom was now chained to the IRS. Every dollar earned, every applause, went straight to Uncle Sam. But Willie didn't quit. He kept playing, kept smiling, kept fighting. People around him couldn't believe his grit. The man had lost everything, his money, his son, his peace. But somehow, he just kept going. And through that struggle, he learned something life-changing. Losing everything doesn't destroy you, it frees you. The gold records, the big houses, the ranch, they were just stuff. What mattered stayed. The music, the soul, the stories. No agent or taxman could ever take that. By 1993, Willie had done the impossible. He paid off the entire debt, every penny. Years of non-stop touring and raw determination turned what seemed hopeless into victory. But the experience changed him forever. He realized that clinging too tightly to money, to fame, even to life, only brings pain. The real power is in letting go. Willie Nelson stopped chasing control and started embracing freedom, the kind that comes from having nothing left to fear. But freedom came at a price because Willie never played by the industry's rules. He wasn't built to be polished or predictable. He spoke his mind, and in country music, that made him dangerous. While others played it safe, Willie stood for something, even when it cost him. In the late 1960s, when racial tensions split the South and country music stages were divided by color, Willie made a bold move no one saw coming. During a show in Texas in front of a mostly white crowd, Willie leaned over and kissed black country singer Charlie Pride right on the lips. The crowd gasped, then erupted in outrage. But Willie didn't flinch. That kiss wasn't a stunt. It was a message. Friendship and respect didn't come in colors. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Southern radio stations banned his songs. Venues canceled shows. Hate mail poured in by the truckload. But Willie stood firm. He didn't apologize. He didn't hide. He doubled down, supporting Pride and every black artist who deserved a stage. He made it clear, racism had no seat in his world. That moment defined him. Fame could come and go, but standing up for what's right, that's legacy. Willie carried that same courage into politics, never afraid to speak his truth. While most country stars stayed quiet, he backed liberal candidates like Dennis Kucinich and Beto O'Rourke, played benefit concerts for causes others avoided, and used his voice to call for peace over war. He was never afraid to be the rebel with reason, the outlaw who wouldn't sell his soul to fit in, because when Willie Nelson believed in something, he didn't whisper it. He sang it loud enough for the whole world to hear. Some of Willie's oldest fans turned on him hard. They said he'd betrayed his roots, that he'd gone too Hollywood, too political. But Willie saw it differently. He wasn't changing. He was finally living the lessons his grandparents had drilled into him as a boy. Stand up for the little guy and never be afraid to speak truth to power. And speak it he did, especially when it came to one of his most controversial causes, marijuana legalization. Long before it was trendy or accepted, Willie was out there preaching its benefits loud and proud. He didn't hide it, not once. He got arrested more times than he could count, faced court dates, and risked his career, but he never backed down. Willie even admitted to lighting up a joint on the White House roof during Jimmy Carter's presidency. That story turned into legend, a wild mix of rebellion and charm that only Willie could pull off. To him, weed wasn't a vice, it was medicine, peace, and freedom rolled into one. Then in 2006, he shook the country world again with a song that made Nashville gasp. Cowboys are frequently secretly fond of each other. A bold, tongue-in-cheek track about gay cowboys, released long before the world was ready to talk about it. It flipped country music's macho image on its head and said what no one else dared to say: love is love. The backlash hit fast. Fans called for boycotts, radio stations refused to play it, and conservative critics labeled him out of touch. But Willie didn't flinch. He'd faced worse, and he wasn't about to censor his truth for anyone.
I mean, what do you call that thing there?
I call it my way, Francis.
Touche.
Right on.
They were praying for the lovers in the valley of the gun. You know, good life, but it's my life.
Then came 2018, and Willie took another stand that split his audience right down the middle. He dropped "Vote Him Out" during a heated election season, urging Americans to use their voices and demand change. It wasn't technically partisan, but everyone knew who he was calling out: the Trump administration. Some fans cheered him for being brave, others torched his albums in protest, but Willie stayed calm through the chaos. His philosophy was simple: I'd rather be honest and hated than popular and fake. That's who he was, an outlaw who spoke his truth even when it cost him fans, friends, and money. He knew music wasn't just for fun. It was for awakening hearts, shaking minds, and standing for something real. And through every fight, Willie learned the truest kind of courage. It's not about facing danger. It's about speaking truth when everyone else stays quiet. It's about choosing principle over profit, integrity over applause, and standing tall even when you're standing alone. But for a man who lived by his voice, the cruelest twist came from within, his own lungs. Years of hard living and endless touring would soon turn into a brutal fight for breath, one that nearly ended the legend himself. The very thing Willie Nelson swore had saved his life, smoking marijuana, was slowly taking it away. His lungs, the same ones that powered decades of songs and stages, were turning against him. But truth is, his lung problems started long before weed became part of his legend. Back in 1981, during what should have been a peaceful family getaway in Maui, everything went wrong. Willie was swimming in the crystal blue water when suddenly he couldn't breathe. A sharp pain ripped through his chest. It felt like he'd been stabbed from the inside. His left lung had collapsed out of nowhere. He was rushed to the hospital, gasping for air, unsure if he'd ever sing again. That collapse was just the beginning. Years of chain-smoking cigarettes mixed with constant marijuana use had scarred his lungs beyond repair. Willie developed emphysema, a brutal condition that turns every breath into a fight. The man who once sang for hours without breaking a sweat was now struggling just to walk across a room without wheezing. Pneumonia hit him again and again, each time stealing more of his strength. His voice started to fade, his body looked smaller, weaker, and the man once called unstoppable began to look mortal. By 2015, it got so bad Willie had to face a terrifying truth. If he didn't act soon, he'd lose his breath for good. He decided to take a chance on a risky procedure: stem cell therapy. Doctors took stem cells from his own body and injected them into his damaged lungs, hoping they'd regenerate and rebuild what years of smoking had destroyed. It was a bold move for an old outlaw, but it was his only shot at survival. The recovery was rough. Willie had to cancel entire tours, breaking the hearts of fans who'd been waiting years to see him live. But this wasn't about fame anymore. It was about staying alive. His doctors warned him. One more hit of pneumonia or infection could finish you. That reality hit harder than any tax bill or heartbreak ever could. And then came 2022, the year that almost took him down for good. COVID-19 swept through the world, and eventually it found its way onto Willie's tour bus in Nashville. For a man pushing 90 with lungs barely hanging on, it was a nightmare. The odds were stacked against him. The coughs came first, then the fever, then the terrifying shortness of breath. Everyone feared the worst. This could have been the final curtain for the red-headed stranger. But somehow, just like he always had, Willie fought back. When Willie woke up one night gasping for air, Annie D'Angelo, his fourth wife, and the true love of his life, didn't hesitate for a second. The rapid test came back, and their worst fear was confirmed. Willie had COVID-19, For a man pushing 90, with lungs already damaged beyond repair, it was a death sentence waiting to happen. Annie turned their home into a full-blown medical center overnight. She brought in doctors, oxygen tanks, mobile medical units, everything. She gave him Paxlovid, monoclonal antibodies, steroids, nebulizer treatments, whatever it took to keep him breathing. She barely slept, keeping watch like a soldier on duty. Every cough, every gasp, every labored breath could have been the last. For days, Willie's life dangled on the edge. The virus attacked his already fragile lungs, and his body fought like hell to keep up. Annie later said it was like watching him fight for every breath, never knowing if the next one would come. It was agony, but somehow, against all odds, Willie began to pull through. Little by little, his breathing steadied. The treatments started working. His stubborn spirit kicked in. Because if there's one thing Willie Nelson's never done, it's quit. Slowly, miraculously, he survived what should have been his final chapter. But coming back from the brink left him changed forever. He'd stared death in the face and felt his body fading, his lungs shutting down, his strength draining away, his heartbeat slowing like a dying song. That experience rewired something deep inside him. It taught him that death isn't always tragic or poetic. Sometimes, it's just running out of breath. And Willie, being Willie, didn't see that as something to fear. He called it just another change, another part of life's long road. After all the heartbreak, the losses, and the pain, death had stopped being the enemy. The real enemy, he realized, was suffering, clinging to things you can't hold on to forever. Now, when he talks about not fearing death, it's not bravado, it's experience. He's felt his body breaking down, the stillness creeping in, the quiet acceptance that comes when you stop fighting and start understanding. For him, peace isn't found in holding on, it's found in letting go. And that's what makes Willie Nelson something truly rare in the world of country legends. A man who's lived through every kind of storm and still stands calm in the face of the final one. Willie Nelson now stands as the last man of a once mighty brotherhood. The Highwaymen, the supergroup that redefined outlaw country, once roared with four legends: Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, and Kris Kristofferson. Together, they were unstoppable. Four rebels, four poets, four souls too wild to be tamed. But time, as it always does, had other plans. Johnny Cash, the man in black, was the first to go. When he passed in 2003, the world didn't just lose a singer, it lost a piece of its soul. Willie watched his old friend fade, diabetes and lung failure stealing away the power behind that deep, thunderous voice.
Be careful about who you let run your business. My advisors, said, do this, do that, buy these and buy those.
In the life of my hard-riding heroes, I burned up my childhood days.
Cash's final performances were heartbreaking, his body frail, his voice cracking, but that fire in his eyes never died. He sang right up until the end, proving that legends don't quit, they burn out slow and proud. Waylon Jennings had gone before him in 2002, and that one cut even deeper. Waylon wasn't just a bandmate. He was Willie's brother in spirit. The two had lived the same wild ride, the bars, the tours, the chaos, the rebellion. They'd stood side by side against the industry, carving their own path when Nashville said no. When Waylon's body finally gave out to diabetes, Willie didn't just lose a friend, he lost a piece of himself. And then the final blow came in 2024. Kris Kristofferson, the poet of the group, the man who could turn pain into lyrics that made the world stop, passed away at 88. Willie always thought Kris would be the one to outlive them all. His death hit harder than anyone could imagine. It wasn't just another funeral. It was the end of an era. the laughter, the whiskey-soaked nights, the songs they wrote under neon lights, all gone, leaving Willie standing alone among ghosts. At those funerals, watching the caskets lower and hearing those final chords fade, Willie began to see something deeper. Survival isn't always victory. It's a kind of burden. Being the last man standing means carrying every memory, every loss, every silence where a voice used to be. He's the living echo of a generation that refused to bow to the rules. The last outlaw, the last highwayman, still singing for the brothers who can't. Being the last one left isn't glory, it's a heavy burden. Every time another highwayman passed, Willie Nelson felt the clock ticking louder, reminding him that his turn was coming too. But through that pain, he found wisdom, an understanding that legacy isn't about living forever. It's about leaving something behind worth remembering. When Kris Kristofferson died, Willie spoke quietly but powerfully. He said, "Kris left us a treasure chest of songs, for as long as we're here." That one phrase, "for as long as we're here," hit hard. It wasn't just reflection. It was reality. Willie knew his time was short. The road ahead was shrinking, but the music, their music, would keep echoing long after he was gone. Watching his brothers fall, Cash, Jennings, Kristofferson, taught him that death doesn't have to be tragedy. Each of them faced it with grace. Johnny Cash kept singing with a voice cracked by pain but fueled by spirit. Waylon kept recording until his body gave out. Kris kept writing, his pen still sharp even in his final years. None of them begged for more time. They accepted it. They met death the same way they met life, head on, with truth and grit. And Willie? He learned from them. He realized that death doesn't happen to you. It happens around you, over and over, until one day it's your turn. The real suffering isn't death, it's the fear of it, the dread, the clinging, the pretending we're immortal. Willie stopped pretending long ago. His acceptance isn't dark, it's freedom. He's seen what happens when you fight the inevitable, and he's seen the peace that comes when you let go. His friends didn't die in vain, they showed him how to live without fear. Every concert now is more than a performance, it's a living tribute. Every lyric carries the ghosts of his brothers. Every stage feels like a reunion of souls. When Willie sings, he's not alone. Cash's fire, Waylon's grit, and Kris's poetry flow through him. He's not just performing, he's preserving. The last highwayman, still holding the torch high. And when his own time comes, Willie won't meet death as an enemy. He'll greet it like an old friend, ready to rejoin the band. He'll walk into that next world the same way he's lived in this one, guitar in hand, hat tipped low, and peace in his heart. At 92, Willie Nelson has something most people never find: pure honesty about life and death. His calm acceptance doesn't come from defeat, it comes from survival. He's been abandoned, bankrupted, heartbroken, and nearly buried, but he's still standing. He's lost a son, lost fortunes, lost health, but somehow found peace in the ashes. Because now he finally understands. Everything we cling to, money, fame, even life, is just a temporary gift. The trick isn't to hold tighter, it's to learn when to let go. And that's Willie Nelson's final lesson to the world. Live fully, love deeply, and when it's time, let go with grace. Fighting what's inevitable only brings pain, but accepting it, that's where freedom lives. The same man who once lay in a Nashville street begging for the cars to take him now faces death with calm eyes and a peaceful heart, not because he's given up, but because he's finally stopped being afraid to live. After losing everything a man can lose, family, fortune, health, Willie Nelson found something unbreakable inside himself. The music still flows, the love still burns, and the connections between souls, they never die. His honesty about death isn't about despair. It's about understanding. Every ending is just another beginning in disguise. He's seen death up close, held its hand, watched it take his friends, and realized it's not a monster. It's simply the last verse of a song that's been playing for 92 long, beautiful years. Willie's acceptance shows what real courage looks like. It's not about fighting death. It's about living fully knowing it's coming. Every note Willie plays, every lyric he sings is part of that truth. He's still on stage, still smiling, still giving his soul to the crowd, not to escape death but to dance with it. Every performance could be the last, every song a goodbye, every moment a gift. That's not tragedy, that's grace. Willie's found the secret most of us spend our lives running from. The only way to truly live is to make peace with dying. His story reminds us that light can still shine in the darkest corners, that acceptance isn't weakness, it's wisdom. He's proven that life's value isn't measured by how long it lasts, but by how deeply it's lived. So when Willie Nelson sings today, he's not chasing immortality. He already has it. His voice, his songs, his truth, they'll echo long after the spotlight fades. If this journey through Willie's extraordinary life moved you like it moved us, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to America's Hidden Gold channel. Because Willie Nelson's story isn't just about survival. It's about freedom, love, and peace with the inevitable. He's shown us that we're all just here for as long as we're here, and that the greatest songs, like the greatest lives, always know when to end.